I don't know who to trust, but it sure as heck isn't going to be Katie Hobbs. Check this out. So we're going to talk about Katie Hobbs coming up next on the show, how she was the Secretary of State. And did she swear herself in? I'm confused on this whole thing here. It's coming up next on the show. Welcome to the Matt Logan Show. Woo-wee!
Interesting.
Secretary of State Katie Hobbs does not recuse herself from the election process as being the head of the election process in the state of Arizona as she runs for governor. How is that even possible? How does any Democrat, I know the Republicans stood up and said, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, let alone having all the problems that they had 2 years previous in the elections and all the voter machines and not working properly and the lines were long and people didn't get to vote in 2020.
Right.
Now they have this election run by Secretary of State Katie Hobbs,
who's
running
candidate.
for
Yeah. If that doesn't scream conflict of interest, recuse yourself and let your number two take care of things.
I don't even know. I don't even know if the number two should have done something like that, I guess, quite honestly.
And they hired somebody
But
for $100,000 to work on this for 3 months.
I'm not going to...
Why wasn't that person in charge of it?
So I'm not going to pull up names and stuff. I mean, I really believe that people should do a little bit of research and then make decisions on their own. But there was a $25,000 bonus in one of the counties that had major problems with the election stuff. Let's call it that. I'm not going to say mass voter fraud or anything, but there were problems.
Right. Undeniable.
Undeniable. The judge even said this is a problem, and so they're doing more work. He gets a $25,000, he or she, I can't even remember what the name was. I'm reading one of the court things that they filed. A $25,000 bonus, and then they can't find, this person has now moved away from the state with no forwarding address. That's one of the things. Another one of the things is there's over 300,000, this is in the court stuff, over 300,000 ballots that have no chain of custody. And I'm not saying, look, some of those votes probably went Republican. I'm not saying that that 300,000 votes went to the Democrats. I'm not saying that.
They need to be accounted for, though.
They need to be accounted for.
Stay above reproach.
Yes. It's
remove
a bloody mess.
Remove all doubt. If there's no issue with fraud, then investigate it.
I go down to Arizona for business. You know what what's really funny to me, I find it hilarious that a truck driver, which is me. Now I'm not the typical truck driver. I mean, what I deliver are trucks. I deliver, so I guess I would be considered a commercial vehicle transport specialist. So I transport commercial vehicles. I'm a truck driver. And people hate that I'm sitting here doing this. I mean, I'm not even kidding.
I bet.
And it's like, I am not you can't get much more grassroots than a truck driver. And that's what I am. So I get to talk to a ton of people. Right. And this specifically, I don't have a assigned truck. I'm literally every couple of days in a different truck. And so I don't sleep in them. They don't have sleepers, generally speaking. The ones I do, some of them do, but most don't. And so I'm staying in hotels. I'm taking lifts to airports. I'm interacting with tons of people all the time. And so it doesn't get more grassroots than that, is really my point, because you communicate with the working class people. These are people who are working. Restaurants, hotels, lifts, Ubers.
Service industry.
Yes. which makes up
service and hospitality. Yeah.
Yeah. And so down in Arizona, I have not spoke with anybody that has been on, and this is over the last couple of years from the last election. And I asked, people get irritated with questions that I ask, and leads into some sometimes intense conversations. There have been times I've nearly asked to get dropped off early from a lift. I'm not even kidding. And so conversations get explosive sometimes. On the other end, I'm in situations like that, I'm very calm and just asking questions, and they don't like that when it's for their team.
Right.
But when you get a critical thinker, but ultimately my point is this. I have yet to run into a working class person that thinks the elections, whether they're Democrat or Republican, and they've been both, think the elections in Maricopa County specifically are legitimate.
That's scary.
And I'm not talking about thousands of people. I'm talking about
probably hundreds.
A couple hundred.
Yeah.
To 200 to 300.
That's a pretty
over
good.
Over the last couple of years.
That's a lot more than most people would have an opportunity to talk to.
For sure.
But where's the oversight?
And people that know me know, I mean, I'm talking to people in elevators. I'm talking to people everywhere all the time.
Chatty Cathy.
Yeah, totally. It's annoying.
That's why we're out here. But you get a broad. You talk to a broad spectrum of people, not just in your niche market. You're talking all walks of life.
I got to talk about this comment now that you say this niche market, this one place. So there's a person that made a comment on one of the podcasts that you and I did, and they talked about echo chamber. So it was really funny because they don't use their real name. It's a fake name account, weird thing like that. And they say echo chamber. I'm like, literally, I had that slogan on a different podcast. Like, that was it. Escape the echo chamber. Look at everything.
Right.
Get out of your echo chamber.
Right. Not just A, B, C, or D.
So it's clearly someone who A, knows exactly who I am personally, or B, has been following for quite a long time.
Which, thank you for your following.
Exactly. But it's really funny. So, yes, they accuse me of not being outside of my echo chamber. And I mean, I listen to the Young Turks. You came across them. I don't usually talk about like who I listen to and who I don't or watch. I just say I'm on this side or that side. But Pod Save America, very liberal, progressive podcast. Young Turks. I mean, the language that they have in them are worse than a 1980s X-rated movie. I mean, it's terrible. And both of them. You listen to ones more on what would be the conservative or right side of the aisle. They're fairly, they can be very blunt, but they're generally fairly respectful of people and language and all that kind of stuff. But the progressive and the liberal side are just never are. And that turns me off, just that.
Yeah.
I don't need to hear the F-bomb every other word. I don't need to hear them being angry at everybody all the time. But I do listen to learn,
other viewpoints,
to gain perspective.
Opposing viewpoints.
Correct.
You can learn a lot from that.
Absolutely. And so I think that's so incredibly important for people to understand that if you're listening to this right now or you're watching us, I listen to all sides of the aisle. And I'm critical of both.
Yes.
So anyway, I am just mad about this. I really am. Because this is not for people.
No.
Katie Hobbs laughs
at giving the oath.
When she's specifically asked about upholding the Constitution of the United States. Wow.
It's sad. It's scary. It's sad. I feel for
crawling up her dress or what?
Oh God. I feel for the people of Arizona.
Oh yeah,
both sides. Like, this is whether she legitimately won or not. Like, this is the best representation. But
she
then
wouldn't
I guess
debate. She wouldn't get on the campaign trail.
Biden won the same damn way, though.
And I have no idea how.
I don't either.
I would never. I don't care who, what team, whatever. I would never, ever, in a million years, vote for somebody that would not debate their opponent. Period.
Mm-hmm. We made it through COVID with debates, whether they were on Zoom or in person at distance with empty rooms. The debates still happen. There's no reason that she should not have debated.
Yeah.
Zero reason that she should not have debated. Unless she was scared.
Yeah.
Or she didn't have anything to say.
Yeah.
And her opponent is extremely well spoken and didn't put up with any crap from anybody, which I think that's some of her appeal is she called out mainstream media to their face on the spot. Yeah. So she knows.
She was a reporter for like 20 years.
That's right.
Carrie Lake was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she held their feet to the fire, which was great.
Katie Hobbs was sworn into office at a private ceremony on the 9th floor of the Arizona Capitol Executive Tower on Monday after a narrow and highly questionable election win. I wanted to highlight that after you talked about the debates and that she's not, she wouldn't debate and all those things that we've been discussing. And she wouldn't even let the media in. That's why it was a private ceremony. There was like one reporter there, I think, and one camera. Because they had to.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it had to be, what do they call that? For National Archives or something like that?
Probably recorded in some manner.
For some sort of National Archive. That was the reason. That was the only reason.
What an embarrassment.
This isn't for people.
What an
we
embarrassment.
are a constitutional republic.
She should be ashamed of herself, number one.
I think that's why she was laughing.
Yeah.
It's a farce. It burns me up.
I can tell.
This kind of stuff burns me up.
Yeah.
I don't care what side of the aisle, and we're going to talk about that on a different podcast, but this kind of stuff burns me up.
Mm-hmm.
And it has nothing to do, I don't agree with her policies. I don't even know what they are because she didn't really come out with anything very clear. I mean, I tried to read.
But if there's nothing to read.
Not enough.
If you're for the people, but you won't even swear in front of the people you represent. Like, come on.
Yeah, that's garbage.
What are you hiding from?
It's totally garbage.
Yeah, absolutely. Could you imagine if our president did that?
Which one?
Any of them. If the president of the United States would not do a public swearing in. Even if it's all pomp and circumstance.
I bet you, I think this is a prime example. I bet you that if it was Joe Biden and he decided not to do it as a public swearing in, would have been no big deal, just like this is. No big deal.
It shouldn't be that way.
I agree. It shouldn't be that way.
Show your face in front of people. It'll be interesting to see what shakes out. I mean, Carrie Lake she's not being squashed. The judges are seeing her case to fight this.
Yeah, some judges have kind of pushed it aside a little bit, I've noticed.
But where she's at right now,
I
don't know if it's the Arizona Supreme Court, they're seeing her case.
Yeah.
So it gives her that opportunity to present her case, and then she can still go to the Supreme Court. Because a lot of people are saying, well, she's just trying to fast track right to the Supreme Court. But I believe it was the Arizona Supreme Court said, no, we're going to see it. We're going to try and deal with this at home. Or at least, well, for whatever reason. But they're going to try and take care of it in the state. At least give that appearance.
Yeah. Yeah, appearance is a good word. I don't know.
We'll see. It'll be interesting to see what happens. And they're actually already starting a petition to have, it's not a recount, but to basically readdress the election 6 months after the swearing in. So they're already starting that petition. So this isn't done in Arizona. not. No.
Are we done?
Sure.
Until next time. Anyway.
Until next time.
You liked my tagline.
I did like your tagline.
You liked my statement on maybe you should make it a tagline.
Yes.
Hey, I don't know who to trust, but I trust in God, and the rest of it I'll research. Did I do okay?
Absolutely.
So, otherwise, you can email AskMatt@MattLoganSpeaks.com for your snide remarks, because we'll get plenty of them. And that's a good place for them. See you next time.